Our guests are in the studio, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji, and the CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, TWALIB MBARAK. Bwana Noordin Haji, Bwana TWALIB MBARAK, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, Noordin, you were here just the other day, and we were having this conversation with you. Major MBARAK has been away. The last time you were here was, what, 2 years ago?
Almost 1.5.
Welcome back.
But my people have been here.
Yes, your people are good people. Your people are good people. You know, they keep coming and they keep giving us, you know, the conversations that we want to have. And congratulations to the both of you for the work that you're doing. Every new day we have a story in the paper of how you have been able to net some of the people who have been helping themselves with great ideas on how they can get some money out of the public coffers. I don't know whether it's a prisoner, whether it's a cleaner in the prisons, whether all those people going to court. Today we want to talk about the integrity question in the 2022 election. We've asked this question many times. We are seeing people whom the public considers to have questions on their integrity, campaigning, wanting to be elected. And the public asks, but why are these people being allowed to? Who's clearing them to come and seek our votes? Surely these people should not be allowed to come here. We want first of all to understand what is the role of the EACC in that entire clearance process, and does the DPP have a role in the entire clearing process? Let's start with the EACC.
Thank you very much. What guides the issue of integrity is a little bit amorphous, and that is why there's this general complaint. I'm not on the defensive, but the general complaint that there are some institutions that maybe they're not playing their role on the issue of integrity and vetting of people who are seeking a political position. But we have to go back to the origin of this issue. You know very well we are operating with a constitution that was enacted in 2010. And what guides the issue of integrity is the Chapter 6. And according to anybody who is interested in reading the Chapter 6, by the time you're through with it, you find it is a little bit amorphous. It is neither here nor there. It gives more of a moral guidance rather than a legal guidance. Initially, when the Bombers Group and other stakeholders were backing this constitution, they took a draft to the parliament for approval. And, people say that there's a famous saying by a famous Italian philosopher, political philosopher, by the name Niccolo Machiavelli. Machiavelli said, politics has got no morals. So I hope you understand by what I mean. So when this draft was taken to the parliament, the politicians looked at it critically, and they realized that that Chapter 6 is actually a rope to hang them. So what do? They diluted that Chapter 6. And that is the genesis or the beginning of the problem that we are having today on the issue of integrity. It is very difficult to measure reputation using paperwork. It is very difficult to measure integrity using paperwork. Integrity is something that you see it on the ground. If I walk in here in the Standard Media Group and I randomly get 3 guys here and ask them, how is Eric Latif? Say, he's a very good guy, very good journalist, committed. He knows how to grill people when they appear before interview. He doesn't fear these guys. He can grill any politician. 3 of them tell me like that. Generally, that is what Eric Latif is. But if I walk in here and they ask them, who is Eric Latif? Wachana hiyo mtu bure tu. Kelele mingi anadanganya nyinyi kwa talk show. The second one tells me the same thing. The third one tells me the same thing. That is the reputation stroke integrity about Eric Latif.
They've been paid by my detraction.
Generally.
Those have been sponsored.
So generally. So when we come back to the EACC, now from that genesis and what Machiavelli has said, And also there's a famous American billionaire who said that when you are hiring a staff, you look at integrity, intelligence, and energy. But if the guy lacks integrity, forget even about taking him. But in Kenya, it is the opposite. Today, if you are a maverick, quasi-gangster politician, that becomes number one criteria of you becoming popular.
Back to the question, though, Bwana EACC boss. What role do you have? Have you been given any role by the law in vetting and clearing people who are seeking elective office?
Now, that's a very good question. What we do as EACC, and this is a misconception I want to remove it to the public, we don't give clearance to say this man, he can contest or not. Get it from me. We don't give that clearance. Mm-hmm. What we do, people who seek public office and political office, they fill what you call a self-declaration form. It is found in the EACC website. You download it in duplicate. You sign it. You bring it to the EACC. EACC stamps one copy, and the other one is given to the applicant. Then, when you go for an interview, you have that form. Once you have been shortlisted, and there's a law that was passed recently that we don't need to do it when people are applying, because they said that job seekers spend a lot of money looking for those kind of documents, which is good. But when you have finally been shortlisted, like let's say a state officer or senior public officer, the entity writes to EACC, does this person have issues with EACC? We go to our record management system, which is electronic. We key in your name there. We look at it and we say, okay, this man, he has a case here on this and that, which is still under investigation. That is all. And there is nowhere that EACC has got powers to stop an entity, to stop a politician from vying for a political seat because he has a case with us.
Does the same apply when somebody is a candidate? For example, the candidates in this year's election.
Yes.
Are they downloading that form?
They download and they bring it.
And then you just stamp.
We stamp, but there's a place that it helps. It can be a self-increment. It can put you in a problem. We've come across quite a number of people that the forms they filled, there was some misrepresentation, and we bring it to the highlight of the entities concerned.
Maybe I can step in.
Yes, DPP.
You know, Chapter 6 and the Constitution itself is meant to be a foundational document, and it talks about our aspiration as a country. And Chapter 6 spells out our aspiration in relation to integrity, issues of morality and all that. But then it is up to then Parliament to then codify this and bring about laws that will enforce it. But what has happened, as MBARAK has aptly put it, is that they have not done that. They have left it open to the extent that those who are supposed to enforce or ensure that Chapter 6 is actually operational do not have the powers that is desired for them to give the desired results that maybe Kenyans want to see. And the process of vetting is one such example. It is amorphous. There is no law that governs the vetting process itself. So when EACC do the background checks and hand it over, for example, to the IABC, it is then left to the IABC to decide whether this is sufficient enough. But then the law again says very clearly that you'll only be barred from office if you've been convicted 6 months and above. So if you've been convicted for 4 months, even if EACC says you're still eligible to run for office. And these are some of the problems that we have. And this is why we were saying the only way we can change this is by electing individuals who will be able to bite the bullet and go to Parliament and make the legislations that will give us the powers to deliver for Kenyans effectively.
I want to be, I'm still at that process, and maybe for both of you, MBARAK, and also you, Nordin, is here we are faced with, I mean, it's in the public, it is very clear who has cases against them. Some of them, the rap sheets are, very, very long, right? So here we are looking at these individuals who have to come through your office at some point. And are we saying that all is happening is that we are just presenting them as they are? And there's nothing that can be done.
As it stands today.
And there's nothing that can be done.
There's nothing that can be done because we don't have the laws.
Maybe I can add on that. A real-time experience. A candidate comes for clearance, he wants to vie for a parliamentary seat. We do preliminary underground vetting. You realize this guy's Form 4 certificate is fake. It takes less than 1 day to check with Kenya National Examination Council whether TWALIB MBARAK was in this school in Mombasa, whether he got a Division 1 or he got a Z. I know all of you are 844 here, maybe save Mr. Muga. You won't know what is a Z. Z was a grade that you used to get in Form 4, and you'll never get a certificate.
Unclassified.
You just get a school living certificate. Nowadays, even if you get an E, you have a certificate to show you're Form 4 leaver. During our time, if you get a Z, you will not get a Form 4 certificate. So what happens is this. You have 100% information. This is a fake Form 4 certificate.
You know.
I say, okay, this is ESCC. Let me talk to Kinoti under penal code, use of forged document. You call George Kinoti, say, George, we have a guy here who has submitted his self-declaration form, and we got intelligence because these politicians undermine each other. Right now, we have cases. People who are looking forward to become governors, and we know they're standard 7 leavers, but they have degrees. How they got those degrees, we don't know. But now, if you want to stop that, he will go to court. Immediately he's got...
So once you call Kinoti, what is Kinoti supposed to do?
To charge on forgery under penal code. When DCI charged that person, it does not stop that guy from contesting to be an MP. He says the case is under court. And the law is very clear. Article 99 says you can only be barred when all legal processes have been exhausted. I am still exhausting the legal process. So for the time being, he goes on as an MP. We have them. We have about 3-4 cases. I'll not mention names. The cases are in court. We know from our side.
Right.
They have appealed.
They have appealed. Others have not appealed. The court is still taking the process of determining whether these certificates are genuine or not. These guys are now going for their second term. Quite a number of them have managed to get tickets from the so-called super political parties, which normally when you get the nomination, the only thing remaining is to go and drink and wait to become an MP, because definitely you'll make it. So this guy will go for a second term, and by the time it goes to the Court of Appeal, he will be serving his third term, and he will sue the government that I've served 3 terms, why can't I be pensionable?
So can we then say, would you be bold enough to say that the law, as it stands, is an impediment to the sanctification of this process?
I think I can, and I think I've said it, that as we stand today, the law, as we have it today, is not sufficient for us to realize as Kenyans what we want, unless we come up with laws that are very clear, that go a step further, that say, for example, if you're charged, you step aside, you cannot run for office until you finish the whole process.
Is that the position of these 2 offices? Is that what you're saying
right now? That is my position, and
be?
I have gone to court on that issue. And the court has ruled that individuals cannot go to office. But what we have seen is they still end up going to office. And we still have to fight in court to get even clearer rulings, which do not negate the Constitution. That's where the problem is. If we can get legislation that will help us to deliver, then we'll be able to do this. And the only way we can do that is to vote the right people who will go to Parliament and make those laws. If we don't have, then we will always be stuck with this problem.
I think as ESCC we have put several recommendations on amendment of the laws. We get very good promises when we appear before these committees. But when it comes to real-time changes of those laws, they are not changed. So the problem is, let me give a good example of a very simple question. Why can't we accept and say that if there's a letter from Kenya National Examination Council that your certificate is fake, that guy doesn't need to go, he doesn't need even to go to court. Automatically he's disqualified from contesting the election. So these laws is, it's like you have two football match. I mean, you have a football match. One team is supposed to play according to conventional FIFA rules, and the other team, they can even take the ball by hand and score it, and it's allowed. Then how do you compete in such a match?
Some of the arguments have been that by the politicians, for example, is if they allow us, for example, to bar them from going to office and running for office based on charging, then there would be an abuse of the processes. But the flip side of that is that they will have avenues to go and challenge some of those decisions that will be made. As a country, we really have to decide what do we want, and are we really serious about fighting corruption?
Yeah, this isn't even a catch-22. This is something like a catch-88, because on the one hand, you have lawmakers who by intent and by purpose seem to have no intention whatsoever of abiding by any law. And by dint of what I'm saying, they also put us in a situation where when they are required to actually ensure that the laws that we have are clear and laws that can help the country move forward, the laws that they seem to support are laws that guarantee that they stay in power and that nothing happens to them when they are in power. So now, you have a situation where even if they are no longer in power, the next lot of people who will come in will come under this same impunity that the others were in. Now, even if we elect leaders whom we think are suitable, because usually they present themselves and you feel this person would actually do a good job. But somehow they get to parliament, and whatever it is that is in that environment, you see changes that you didn't anticipate. You are the individuals you know, and you wonder what happened to this person. Somebody whom you knew had a stand, all that seems to just frizzle away, and suddenly they're a different animal altogether.
You see, for example, under the ASECA, we've really been trying to argue what is the difference between a state officer and a public officer. If you read the Constitution, there's no difference. They are one and the same. But conveniently, the politicians have said they are public officers and not state officers. State officers are the only people who should step aside and should not be in office. And that is what is happening.
That's
today.
ambassadors and CSs and such.
Yeah.
Those that have been appointed.
There's the civil servants.
Yes.
Are the state officers. They're the ones who should be stepping aside. But politicians are the public officers. They should not be stepping aside. Now, these laws are what you've just said, the proverb. They are telling Kenyans it's a crocodile like any a log. For us, it can bite. Precisely, it's been in the water, but it's actually just a log. There is very little that we can do, especially when it comes to issues of integrity and enforcing it.
Do you think this is pre-designed?
I think it's for... Okay, I did political science at the university, and... This problem is mainly all over the world, because at the end of the day, the politicians look at their interest. From the face value, they will tell you that they are there to improve your life, take care of your welfare and all this. But at the end of the day, what comes first is their own personal interest. We've talked about the reluctance of changing the laws and even some of the laws. There's also impunity. People don't observe those laws. And we are not condemning all politicians. I have interacted in several committees in Parliament, and you can see some MPs that are very serious in amending the laws to make sure that the issue of accountability and integrity is there. But we need also to know that majority, they are quite not interested. And the whole problem goes back to the public. Because even right now, as people are trying to contest various positions, you've seen there are some governors, controversial governors now, they are causing havoc. They are trying to come back, and they sound very popular on the ground. Their opponents are panicking. Now, the same with parliamentarians. The issue here is one. You can have, I know some politicians, some MPs, that they are no people of no integrity at all, morally. But legally, when you go to the Chapter 6, you go to the Leadership Integrity Act, you go to the Public Officers Ethics Act, and all other acts that are related to integrity, there is nowhere to fish that guy out. That is a criminal. You know, it's like somebody who used to work in a bank, he has been sacked. Banks, when they sack people, they don't want to go to court.
No.
Because they look at the image first. It may cause panic and everybody start withdrawing money. So they will sack that person silently. When you go to the bank in the records, that guy resigned. But when you get insiders, they tell you, hii mtu alisukumwa, alikuwa amefanya ukora hapa. We have many kind of politicians who are contesting political seat with that kind of analogy. You know their background is not clean. And quite a number of them, the public know. But these people are now back dishing out money. You remember twice, the Minister for Internal Security, Honorable Matiang'i, has said, we are likely to get a lot of crooks coming into the next parliament and other elective position, because the public, they're not strict in what you call the general public vetting. And when you get those people, let's say in parliament, and maybe out of 450, I mean, is it 350 MPs or about that, and then 2/3 are on the other side, people who have got questionable character. Do you think those people will be interested to amend laws to come and hunt them? Or they're going to weaken the laws? So there's a big danger that even the next government that will come in power, their agenda on corruption may be frustrated because they will have a lot of MPs who are quasi-crooks.
Little bit from the top.
Yeah. So you may end up having a helpless leader who's at heart wants to fight corruption, but on the ground is too hostile that he will be forced to shed off that agenda.
Let's take a break. It's 9:30, Kenya's biggest conversation. With us in the studio this morning is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, TWALIB MBARAK, and the Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji. We are talking about that integrity question in the next general election. Who should we elect and why? Who should we not be electing and why? The question is, what are these officers doing to make sure that we don't get to the people on the ballot? Do they have any power? Do they not?
This is the Situation Room.
The conversation continues. Eric Latif, Ndu Oko, CT Muga, and the Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji, the CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, TWALIB MBARAK, talking about integrity and the forthcoming general election. Gentlemen, we've heard you. I mean, you've said clearly it is your hands are tied because of the way the law is structured. The letter of the law is what basically ties your hands. When you ask the judiciary, they tell us the same thing. You know, we are looking at the law and we are applying the law. When you ask the IEBC, they tell us the same thing. We shall just play the role. We shall ask EACC, what do you know about this person? They'll tell us. And if there's a case in court, well, this person, we can't bar them because the law says all of you, the EACC, the ODPP, the Cabinet Secretary for the Interior, the Inspector General of Police, where the DCI falls, the Chief Justice and others, you belong to the National Council of the Administration of Justice, right? And you talk about these things. So if all of you are players that are feeling that your hands are tied, I want to put it out to you. Why can't you just deploy activism? I mean, what if today, Noordin, no, this is to you, MBARAK, a candidate comes to download the form of the self-declaration from EACC website. If you refuse to stamp it, what next? If IEBC basically just says, all right, there's an issue, and we go to the public and say, we have an issue, we're not going to take this, what next? let them go to court. But at least let there be a public conversation. I'm just calling out on you. Why can't you play an activism role in this to highlight the issue better?
First of all, you have to know my background. I've never been an activist, and I will never be an activist. The issue of saying you are not stamping, there's no law that says that we should not stamp. We stamp and then we verify. And that's how we picked, we have some people that we've taken to court because of their suspected fake academic papers. It is out of that form that they declared. When we get a red flag, we check with the Kenya National Examination Council, and we say this guy's got a fake certificate, and we've taken people to court. The matter is still in court. Then the issue of saying we are members of the National Council of Administrative of Justice, all of us, we agree that the issue are the laws that are having some shortcomings. A good example we'll give you, Eric, is the ESCC through the DPP. We have charged almost 9 governors. These are practical example of how the laws are very weak to have a watertight vetting system on integrity. We have charged 9 governors. Those governors, in fact, one is an issue on corruption, and even separately, he has there's a murder case for him. He's still serving, and people may shout over the roof, say, "Why did the judiciary allow this?" They'll tell you it's the law. These people, we are not able to kick them out permanently from their offices when we had charged them, because the law does not allow. And if you look at some of these governors, they have even now shifted bases, going to other places to contest for governor in the coming election. They are not fools. Corrupt people are very smart. You win, you bring down a corruption case through technicality, legal technicalities, and they get good lawyers, and the lawyer will know where to exploit. They'll say, look, under which law? This is a country governed by constitution. We cannot operate like a quasi-dictatorship, or we cannot operate like as if we're in the jungle. They will quote all the laws, and you find that magistrate or judge, he knows morally this guy's a crook, but legally he has to give a ruling as per the law. That is where we go. That is how it is. So it is not because the judiciary has a problem, the DPP has a problem, the ESCC has a problem, the police has a problem, the IBC has a problem. No. I remember we had a meeting with the DPP and chairman of IBC and Mr. Chebukati. We were invited by the Media Council of Kenya last year. And the question was the same. The chairman of IBC said, look, it is true, ESCC red flagged almost 106 candidates. We had red flagged almost 106 candidates, including the former governor of Nairobi. We had red flagged that these people are not suitable to vie for a political position.
There are 3 former governors from Nairobi.
3, 4. Just do your guesswork. You know who I'm talking about. Eric, just do your guesswork. You'll know who I'm talking about. Now, the chairman of IBC, he said, look here, I operate under a very scarce budget. Why should I clear these people? They take me to court, and I know, he said, I'm a lawyer. I know very well, technically, they will defeat me. Why should I end up paying legal fees on cases that I know I'm going to lose? What is the solution? The solution is to amend the laws. Who are to amend the laws?
The same politicians.
Yes.
But it's about raising the issue. And that's why I want to come.
Let me finish. So the whole problem here, we will keep on arguing, and we just have an hour with this good program of yours. The issue here is the local people. If there's anything that is vibrant in this country, it's the media. We have media in vernacular, in English, in Swahili, the social, the internet, everything. Everybody, if you ask him or her, what do you know about this politician? He will tell you, this is a very controversial politician. He has this issue of corruption, he has this issue of corruption, he has this and that, or she has this and that. Why do you vote for him or her? You guys, the Standard newspaper, and let me bash it a little bit. It's part of a feedback from the CEO ESCC. The Standard newspaper, a week ago, it was profiling senior politicians who are likely to be the running mates of the main presidential candidates. And 2-3 of those politicians, we have issues with ESCC. A whole one-page coverage of Standard, there was no one sentence to say this politician is facing graft charges, or he has been adversely mentioned, or she has been adversely mentioned on corruption. You went quiet. So how are you helping us as a newspaper?
Hiyo ni kweli bwana.
Tumegonga nyinyi hapa.
Aya, asante sana.
Sio kugonga.
Ni ukweli.
Umesema ukweli.
DPP,
Yeah.
you've gone to court, especially in the matter of, governors who are facing cases in court, right? You've gone to court and sought even just clarification on an order. When you ask a governor not to access office, what exactly are you saying? Are you saying that they should not act, or are you saying that they should not walk into office? You've gone to this.
No.
You are basically taking that role that I'm saying, the activist role of trying to highlight and blowing the issue out of the water.
Yeah.
Can you do more?
Yeah, we'll try to do more. For example, in my opinion, and we can have differing opinions. That's why you have all these institutions. They are meant to do the checks and balances. In my opinion, for example, the issue of certificates should be much more easier to deal with. If we have the evidence, even before charging them or taking the matter to court, if it is presented to IBC by ESCC, then IBC should be in a position to say, you cannot vie, because this certificate is questionable. And if the individual wants to challenge that, then let them go to court. But we will not clear them unless the court says so. I think that is one way of looking at it. The other issue is, for example, impeachment. If you are impeached, in my opinion, you are not impeached only not to run in Nairobi, but it's across the country, because this is the Republic of Kenya. So you cannot start jumping from one county to the other with an impeachment on your neck and then go and start campaigning uko inje ati you'll become a governor of another county. That will not happen. And as ODPP, we will fight it. We might lose, but we will fight it. Because in our opinion, if you're impeached and thrown out of office, I mean, morally, legally, that individual should not be able to run for office. And there are quite a number of people who have been impeached. And let them know that we are not going to just sit and watch them.
And I mean, hearing you say that, it seems repugnant to you that such a thing should be allowed to happen, and we're just, everybody's kind of sitting back and watching it happen. But then the question is, further to that, what then would be done, if for anything that it stands as an example to others that you cannot behave in this manner and get away with it? Because we are talking about integrity and morals here.
Yeah, I think it will be, for me, my argument is that the onus should be on the individual. Let them run to court and get that ruling saying that they can run for office. But as far as you are concerned, you cannot be impeached, really, by Parliament that has equal powers to a High Court, and then come back and tell us that you can run for another office in another county. I mean,
I think
I can't just fathom that at all.
Gentlemen, you both have a background in intelligence gathering. Am I right in saying so?
Yeah.
Okay, that means
Exactly.
that one, nothing could be more affirmative. Okay, now you both have tenure of office. Okay, now one of the biggest problems that we seem to have in this country are related to two matters: money laundering, drug trafficking. Now, in the past, we have seen situations where both the agencies that you had have taken very firm positions about these things. But according to me now, I'm a layman, I observe what is happening in the political sphere. If I'm to go by what the media house France 24 put out there, the amount of money they figure as being laundered in Kenya regularly, something like 25 billion. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say there are matters that can be dealt with which don't have to do with politicians. And I mentioned the figure 25 billion because it relates directly to even how we borrow and what we borrow and the problems we keep having. If we just park the issues of our politicians aside briefly, I want to hear something positive about how it is we are bringing to a halt some of these things that are not just damaging our economy, but are contributing to this dismal situation that we have.
But you see, we cannot divorce, even in that we cannot divorce issues, for example, of corruption. Because corruption exacerbates all threats that we are facing as a country. And if we cannot deal with corruption, and if we cannot deal with also politicians, then we will not be able to deal with the issues of terrorism or organized crime or narcotics. No way.
I think, Muga,
Yes,
I know you like triggering issues. First of all, the most unfortunate thing about this country is that we are a product of the Western democracy, which appears not to be working for now. We have to agree. I hope people will not say that I'm trying to say that this country should revert to dictatorship. But
or Sharia law.
Or Sharia law. No. I am putting a disclaimer.
Yes.
You know, any country that follows the Western democracy, it is the politician who follows the public. Like, let's say in America, you'll be told this Republican candidate will not make it because he's anti-abortion or because they have imposed this kind of tax. In Kenya, it is the opposite. It is the public that follows the politician. We are like wild beasts. When the leading wild beasts decide this is where we shall cross Mara River, all of them follows. Whether they'll be eaten by crocodiles on the way or whatever, they'll all follow. So unless a time will come where a Kenyan electorate will determine the destination of his political future, as at now, if we are leaving it to the politicians, we are lost. The politicians should know what the public likes or not. So when they will know that corruption is an issue that can bring me down, they'll go back to parliament and legislate and put laws that will be watertight for us to fight corruption. If we don't do that, it will be just the same circus of saying, oh, why can't we do this? Why can't we? Blame game. And right now we are in a blame game throughout. Oh, ESCC is not working, judiciary is not working, the politicians are bad, the DPP is bad. We are just in a blame game. But the real issue is until when a Kenyan electorate will say, this man, he has been flagged by ESCC, this man has a case with DCI, this man, we know he has no criminal record, but we know he used to be an MD of a private company, silently he was sacked, we are not voting for him. That is when things will start, will resort to order. Last week I was in Rwanda, and you can see everything in that country is working. And I told my young officers, you see this country was a failed state 30 years ago. All these systems that are in Rwanda, over 80% were through the assistance of the Kenya government. Retraining their military, immigration, their revenue authority, their education system, because it was turning from francophone to anglophone. Kenya government assisted a lot, the Rwanda government, and they've made it. So you ask yourself, what is happening? And we're the ones who taught these people all these things. And they even appreciate. They tell you, you guys have really helped us. I met the head of anti-corruption from Namibia. He told me, you guys did a lot to our country. When we got independence, most of the things we were assisted by Kenya government to set up systems. And you go to Namibia, everything is working. So the irony is that we are the ones who go and teach people outside there, and things go get orderly. Us here, it's like a carpenter. You make very nice furniture, you sell, and at home you have stools. It doesn't make sense.
TWALIB, do you think Kenyans are against corruption?
They hate it, but maybe I can give it to Nurdin because I may be partisan. Maybe the DPP can answer that one.
Well, I think as a country we should also not beat ourselves too much. There are also a lot of positives. The fact that we are able to sit here and discuss this openly without fearing, the fact that you have institutions that are independent and can be able to enforce some of these things, those are some of the positives that we have. Of course, there's a bit of panel beating here and there that needs to be done, and through sensitization, that will happen. We can't compare ourselves with Rwanda, really. I don't want to bring about a diplomatic but we can't compare ourselves. Their ways of enforcing things are different from ours. We have institutions, we have the constitution, we have democratic means of doing things that are different. So we can really not compare ourselves with them. It's good for them. They have come from a failed state. Probably that is what they need to get out of it, and maybe they will develop in a different way in the future. But as Kenya, as a democratic institution within the region, I think we've made a lot of strides. For example, next week we are going to hold an international association of prosecutors. We're going to have over 30 DPPs and attorney generals coming to Kenya to share their experiences. But Kenya being a lead in a lot of the things that we are doing, in how we are combating corruption, how we are dealing with organized crime, with terrorism. We are an example, a shining example in Africa. Yesterday, EACC was bringing DRC officials to come and learn from us. And we've been exporting a lot of our experiences and our expertise to other countries. If we are able to align ourselves to the Constitution and respect the Constitution, respect issues of human rights, I think then we'll be a step ahead of all other states within the continent. And this is what we are trying to strive. And all countries go through these phases. And I think ours is a bit ahead compared to other areas. But
just to add on that,
yeah.
I think, Eric, what the DPP has said is correct. If you move to all the neighboring countries, you will never miss a Kenyan doing something very big in that country. It tells you this country, first of all, I think is one of the leading countries in Africa with a very well-trained human resource. At EACC, we have put a system of information management. Initially, we used to outsource, and there was a foreign company that was doing it. Later on, a youngster in the ICT in EACC, he told the management, I can come up with a program locally here. We can do it, and we'll be able to do this thing without paying a coin. And they did it. And it is working. What does it tell you? You have a very well-trained young population in this country that can do miracles. But what we need to do is to realign 2-3 things, and this country will be very, very far.
And it's important to have these frank conversations instead of having sticking our neck on the ground. And that's what we are trying to do. Sometimes we are unpopular, but it's part of the processes that we have to go through as a country.
Is there any time when you feel your lives are in danger? Because when people take the positions that you take and against the sort of forces that we see.
Personally, I don't feel I'm in danger because I'm not a coward. And we have a saying in the military that cowards die many times. So I am not scared. I am military trained.
Yes.
I've traversed Isiolo, Marsabit area when I was training in the military. I've seen lions at night. I never ran away. So why should I run away from a human being?
I think probably when the president was picking us from the list and forwarding our names to Parliament, he must have had that behind his mind. And for example, I have been on the front line in Somalia as an intelligence officer, ensuring that our interests are safeguarded as a country. So threats, we face them. We're going to face them. And I think some of us, like me, I believe in God, and I know when my time comes, it will come. And we are willing and ready to face the challenges.
Whatever comes.